Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Evan Witt Show here with the Evan Witt Podcast. And the Evan Witt Show is brought to you by the Sports Nutrition Standard. If you're looking for top of the line sports nutrition products to better your workout, better your performance, and get fit, then Sports Nutrition Standard is it for you. Sports Nutrition Standard has top-of-the-line products hand-picked by the staff that work there, extremely helpful staff, and prices that you cannot beat. Sports Nutrition Standard, the official sports nutrition store of the Evan Witt Podcast. So, lots to talk about, lots happening over the past couple weeks. I apologize for not doing a show last week. I know I'm supposed to be doing a weekly show, but last week, dealing with a migraine, I was unable to do the show, but I am back and I am ready to go and got lots to talk about. We got coming up the Super Bowl on a few days away. The Brewers made some big moves, and they're looking to make some more. The Packers finalize their coaching staff, and the NFL draft is coming up pretty quickly too. It's going to be draft time in no time. So, as I said, lots to talk about, lots going on, and oh yeah, the Royal Rumble was Sunday too. So, first thing first, Milwaukee Bucks. They fired Jason Kidd. Since firing Jason Kidd, they've gone on a 4-game winning streak as of recording time. The Bucks are currently in action as we speak, but they've gone on a 4-game winning streak since firing Jason Kidd, and I know they haven't set the world on fire in regards to beating top opponents, but the things I've noticed about the Milwaukee Bucks since Jason Kidd got let go is they seem a lot more loose. They seem a lot more comfortable and playing together. Now, tonight, they're not looking so good, down 64-49 as of right now, this recording. But I like what Joe Prunty has brought to the team. There seems to be a lot more energy, obviously, before the game tonight. Unfortunately, Marcus Brogdon's out with the quad strain. Bledsoe's dealing with an ankle. But, starting tomorrow night, Friday, February 2nd, Jabari Parker is back. And that should do wonders for Milwaukee as he gets used to and comfortable being back in the lineup. The Bucks have not played with their, quote, big three, Giannis, Jabari, and Chris Middleton, really at all. Because Middleton missed the first half of last season with the hamstring hamstring injury. Then Jabari Parker goes down, I believe, the night before Chris Middleton set to come back. So they missed each other last year. So, yeah, they haven't really played with those three in a while, if at all. So I'm excited to see what those three bring to the table and what the Bucks can do moving forward. Now, I know there's trade rumors centered around DeAndre Jordan out in L.A. and Whiteside down in Miami, and they likely would have to give up Jabari Parker for one of those two in any trade. But right now, I know they need a big man, but go with what you got. You're not going to win the NBA Finals this year, even with Jabari coming back. Go with what you got. See what Jabari can do with coming back from his second torn ACL and address the issue in the offseason. That's when they should address the issue. Let's see what these three together can do. Then you can figure out, do you want to extend Jabari Parker because he's due for a contract extension? And then how do you get a center too? Maybe Greg Monroe could be an option after the season's over. Bring him back. Or maybe Thon Maker during the offseason is going to develop a lot, being his third year in the NBA. But I'm excited for the Bucks moving forward. Today's game aside, I'm still excited. And I want to see what they do with this current roster, especially when Bledsoe gets healthy and Brogdon gets back to being healthy. I want to see what Bledsoe, Brogdon, Giannis, Parker, and Middleton, I want to see what those five can do. And I'm pretty sure we're probably going to see at times all five on the court at the same time when the Bucks decide they want to go with a small lineup. Giannis could be the, quote, 5, or Parker can be the, quote, 5, and, go that way. But Milwaukee Bucks, excited. Jabari's back, coming very soon. And let's see what the Bucks can do for the rest of the season with Joe Prunty. Moving on, Milwaukee Brewers, they first trade for Christian Yelich. May have gave up a little too much for Yelich, with the trade was centered around Lewis Brinson and then 3 other prospects as well. Maybe a little too much, but Christian Yelich is a former Gold Glove winning outfielder. He should tear it up at Miller Park. His numbers should be much higher. He doesn't strike out, as much as, for example, Keon Broxton. So Broxton will play less with Yelich. But they also signed Lorenzo Cain. Lorenzo Cain, a really good center fielder. So now you got Yelich, you got Cain, you got Braun, you got Domingo Santana, you got Brett Phillips, you got Keon Broxton, all filling the outfield. So what do the Brewers do? Do they, A, move Braun to first base, which he said he's open to, and play with an outfield of Yelich, Santana, and Cain? Or do you try to package Cain for a trade for a starting pitcher? Is that what the Brewers try to do? And you got Braun, move him to right, or put Yelich at right, and you got Yelich, Braun, and Cain. And then you got Broxton likely as the 4th outfielder because Santana and Phillips will likely be included in the same trade. But the Brewers are going for it. Now they need 1 or 2 starting pitchers. They're in pretty serious with Yu Darvish for talks. That's looking like there's potential there for the Brewers to sign Yu Darvish. They're trying to get Archer from Tampa Bay, which doesn't look likely because I don't think the Brewers have enough horses left in their farm system to give Tampa Bay what they want for Archer. But the question is now, it looks like Yu Darvish wants to go back to L.A. So can the Brewers convince him not to go back to L.A. and to come to Milwaukee and be part of a team that's looking like they could be legit contenders in the National League? You know, the common big spenders need to clear cap payroll in order to sign Yu Darvish, like the Yankees, and the Cubs are trying to get him as well. But a lot of these teams are also saving money for next offseason when you got guys like Bryce Harper, who is a free agent for the first time, and Harper's going to demand a ton of money. And do the Cubs and the Yankees want to save money for Harper? Possibly. But I'm excited with what the Brewers have done. I'm excited for this upcoming season, especially if they get an arm. Then you got Jimmy Nelson potentially coming back in June. So if he comes back to form when he comes back in June, that's what it's looking like. Now you got a guy who can bring it on the hill too. So exciting things going on in Milwaukee. And now on to the Packers. Now the Packers coaching staff is finalized. Mike Pettin is the defensive coordinator. Joe Philbin is back as the offensive coordinator. And I'm very excited on what this means for Green Bay. You get a new voice in the locker room. Mike Pettin is an experienced coach. He's got defensive coordinating experience. He's got head coaching experience. He knows how to run a team. So Mike McCarthy won't have to get involved in the defense very often, and that's what Mike McCarthy wants when he hires a defensive coordinator. He would prefer a former head coach as his defensive coordinator, so he doesn't have to worry at all about that side of the football. He can stick to the offense, which is what his specialty is. So Mike Pettin has a defense that's always finished in the top 10 for most of his career as a defensive coordinator or head coach. And now Packers need to upgrade, obviously, at the front 7, at outside linebacker or edge rusher. They probably need another middle linebacker to be more of a coverage guy. And secondary could use some depth as well. Now with King coming back from injury and Demarius Randall having a great stretch there towards the middle to end of the year after getting benched in Chicago, those positions are looking pretty good, but they need some depth at the cornerback position. They need another starter on the outside, too, to go along with King, so you can kick Randall back to the slot. And then they just need better talent, too. Quentin Rollins coming back off an Achilles injury, who was struggling last year to begin with, I don't think it's an option. Demetri Goodson comes back off the PUP list, doesn't play it down the rest of the year due to another injury. I think you need to cut ties with him. And I'm sure some of the undrafted guys like Hawkins and those guys have potential to eventually develop into serviceable NFL talent, but right now they're not ready. Pipkins and Hawkins are not ready, and they should not be playing a important role on a team that has Super Bowl aspirations. Not just playoff aspirations, but Super Bowl aspirations. So they got to get more depth there and upgrade the talent. What do you do with Clay Matthews? That's another thing the Packers have to figure out on defense. Do you pay him what he's being paid in the last year of his contract and deal with the amount of money against the cap that he is? And do you play him as specifically an edge rusher, a traditional outside linebacker? Do you put him in the middle? Do you move him around a lot? That's what Mike Pettin's got to figure out, and I'm pretty comfortable in Pettin figuring it out. I'm not really worried with Mike Pettin figuring that out. Nick Perry, can he stay healthy? So that's why you need more depth at the edge rushing position. You got Reggie Gilbert that showed a lot in the last 2 games of the year, more than Kyle Flacco showed all season long. And then Vince Beagle, how does he improve after a full offseason of doing off-season activities for the Packers? Does he take that sophomore jump, being that last year he missed most of the off-season program due to his foot? Now he's healthy. Now he gets to participate in the off-season program. So, but those two you don't really know about. Kyle Flacco is nothing special. You know what he is. He's not going to light the world on fire. He's probably better served in a more traditional 4-3 defense as a linebacker than or as a defensive end than he is as a 3-4 rush backer. He doesn't have the tenacity, doesn't have the strength to come hard off the edge on what the Packers need to consistently get pressure on the quarterback. So do they do that in the draft, or do they bring in a veteran body to pair with Perry, Matthews, and then Beagle and potentially Gilbert? So defense, lots of questions. Offense, questions too. Wide receiver position, Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb do a lot of money. Do you restructure their contracts? Do you extend them? Do you outright release them? Do you try to trade them? Those are all questions they got to figure out. But I honestly think the Packers are going to stand pat at wide receiver with Adams, Cobb, and Nelson. I think they're going to bring in possibly a veteran with some speed, like a Dontre Moncrief, potentially. He's got familiarity with Joe Philbin. Or they might draft speed in the draft and hope that they get somebody that can come in and take the top off the defense right away. They got the tight end position they got to address. Richard Rodgers is a free agent. Lance Kendricks did not have a great season whatsoever last year. Martellus Bennett fiasco. Now, do they sign a free agent, which there's a few with the big name on the market, Jimmy Graham? Do the Packers bring in Jimmy Graham? Should they bring in Jimmy Graham, or do they go a different route? I would be okay with Jimmy Graham, but you also got to get another tight end, as you don't know what Jimmy Graham has left in the tank. If the price is right, I'm fine with Jimmy Graham, but you don't know what he's got left in the tank. He's been injury-prone the last couple years, been more of a red zone threat than a stretch-the-field threat. Maybe you take a risk on him and he turns into Charles Woodson. When many people thought Charles Woodson was done when he left Oakland the first time, that's why a lot of teams passed on him. That's why Packers ended up really getting him. And the rest, as they say, is history. Maybe Jimmy Graham will be the same way. Maybe teams avoid Jimmy Graham because they see the injury history and think that it may not be the best idea to sign him, and maybe he's a gem for Green Bay. But that's going to be, Packers need to upgrade at that position big time. So, moving on. Well, first, I'm going to have a lot more Packer chatter moving forward, talking about potential people they could draft, potential people they could sign as free agents if they go that route. So, lots of Packer chatter coming if that's what you want to hear. But now moving on to the Super Bowl preview of this episode. And the Super Bowl, you got the Philadelphia Eagles and the New England Patriots. Now, the Patriots on paper should win. You got the experience of quarterback in Tom Brady. You got the experience and head coach of Bill Belichick. The coordinators are experienced in McDaniels and Patricia. And the Patriots know how to win this time of year. So, on paper, Patriots should win. But the Eagles, you shouldn't sleep on. This is probably the best defensive line the Patriots have faced since the New York Giants, and we all know what happened there. The Eagles have the defensive line to get pressure on Brady without blitzing. So what the Giants did in the Super Bowl